You know, Spike Lee recently did an interview where he said that civil wars are coming.
What did he say?
He said that. He said civil war's coming. He
Wait,
said
wait.
Trump's not going to leave. Civil war's coming. That's it.
You just he didn't. Did he explain what does he mean by that civil
That's
war?
it. That's all he said. And it was really. I can't remember who did the interview. I think it was like Vanity Fair, maybe. They were interviewing him and they asked him something like, "What do you think is going to happen in November?" And he said, "Civil war." This is like the only thing that leftists have at any capacity to actually criticize me. Is that out of 5,832 videos? Now it's more than that because that number was from like last week. I have maybe 25 videos about Civil War. And they're like, aha, we got him. He's talking about the Atlantic article they wrote about Civil War coming. It's like, yes. There are a couple of videos where I directly, asked the question, like when the AG in Oregon sued the federal government because the federal government was trying to enforce the law. It's like when you have the states challenging the federal government's right to enforce its own laws, or that's kind of weird and scary. And that's like, the way I describe it is, if things really escalate into full-on hot conflict between factions, or Joe Biden and Trump are boxing each other on the White House lawn to beome president or something, then they'll claim that these things were part of what started the Civil War or was the Civil War. But now you have Spike Lee straight up said it. He was being interviewed by some magazine or whatever, and they asked him what's going on, and he made some comment about being like Nostradamus or something, and he said Civil War is coming, y'all better prepare because this MFer is not leaving the White House, something like that. And so, yeah, just more talk from Spike Lee. And then you add this to this story we have about these guys in Michigan. And I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm not surprised.
Is this the first of many attempts on
politicians?
Yeah.
Dude, you violate the Constitution brazenly while laughing at people when you do it. Don't be surprised when this kind of thing happens. Now,
No,
I'm grateful to the FBI that they got stopped.
Do you remember what happened with her a few months back? There was a anti-lockdown protest, and the next day she came out and she was like, well, now basically I'm going to create an even harsher lockdown out of spite. Remember?
I remember that.
I was like, whoa, this
Dude,
woman's
this lady's,
going to get...
she's evil.
Yeah.
Legit evil. So I say she's evil in the truest sense of the word, right? When a bunch of people in Michigan were freaking out because her emergency powers are too extreme, they started signing petitions saying we want a referendum on taking her power away. And she said, do not let them take my power from me. And then when the Supreme Court of Michigan ruled you can't do this, she said, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Talk about evil.
Completely mad with power.
Here's
She's
the
drunk
problem.
off of it.
Why isn't the federal government removing her? That's what they're supposed to do, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But if you have a governor and their legislation says you can't do this and she laughs and does it anyway, shouldn't the feds then intervene and be like, this woman must be removed? Because she's not letting anyone do anything. And I'll tell you what else. What are the cops doing? Now, the AG has said she will no longer enforce any of Gretchen Whitmer's, edict. So she's essentially just sitting in a room crying and screaming, demanding a lockdown that no one's going to enforce. So she lost.
Right.
But shouldn't she just immediately, don't we have some kind of thing where it's like, if you're ordered not to do something, you do it anyway, we get rid of you?
Yep.
You're no longer the governor or in charge?
Recall.
Yeah, but that's that requires an actual vote. She's not letting people leave their houses.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating a bit, but you lock everything down, people can't actually organize. So, anyway, man, here's my point. If I said to you, a year ago, actually, I'll tell you this. If I said to you a year ago that I think we're dangerously close to a civil war, and that within a year we're going to see race riots, people screaming and fighting and smashing stuff, and you're going to have armed groups going after state leaders and politicians, and these rioters are going to be smashing up people's homes, y'all would call me crazy.
I'm pretty sure you did call it about a year ago.
Oh, I did.
In our group chat. I'm pretty sure it was around Halloween last year.
And I can't remember, I don't want to name drop anybody, but I remember we had a group, there's a group chat with a couple dozen people or something, journalists and personalities. And I'm like, it's coming. Here's what's going to happen. And there was a couple of guys who were like, that's so dumb. That'll never happen. You don't understand the security state. And I'm like, listen, these guys who plotted this, what happens when you actually have someone like Gretchen Whitmer or, Wolf in Pennsylvania, who also got ruled unconstitutional. And they're like, we don't care. We are the Democratic Party. Yeah. Or what happens when you get that? Then what happens if Bill Barr actually says we are intervening to remove a despotic governor who's in violation of the law. What happens if they do this now? What happens? I mean, it's unlikely because she's the victim in this story. But what happens if they intervene and we're this close to the election? And then the left says it's a coup. It's Donald Trump staging a coup. Like, then you're going to get government faction versus government faction. This right here should be one of the biggest red flags. There's a red banner flying above everyone's house right now that civil war, these people think people can only think in real time for the most part. They don't think to the future. They don't prepare or plan. So when you see people marching around in a residential neighborhood screaming rabble, 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 most people don't even think like, I wonder what they'll do next. That's literally what I do. I'm like, man, wow, if they're marching through the neighborhood, it's only a matter of time before they start like attacking and threatening people. Then what happened?
They did that last night.
Well, this is what I'm getting to. The first thing they did, we see in Portland, is they went to some guy's house who had an American flag and screamed and said, take it down or we'll burn your house down. The New York Times covered that. The next thing they did was they went around snatching the flags off the porches and burning them. Now in, where's this, Wauwatosa? Mm-hmm. They went to apartment buildings and homes and started smashing up their windows. What happens if you try to defend yourself? Ask the McCloskeys. Yeah. Ask that dude in Wisconsin. You will be arrested. You must let the mob burn your house down.
This story, like last night, was so sad too. It was an apartment building that had 4 apartments, and 3 of the apartments, like the people just left. They fled. They knew that there was bad stuff going on, so they went to stay somewhere else. But one of the apartments had a 70-year-old woman in it. She didn't have anywhere to go. And so she was hiding in her bedroom while they were smashing her windows. And she called her landlord, and he went over there, and he found her, and she was like shaking and crying. Oh. And he brought her somewhere safe to her sister's house, I believe. But
she was a fascist,
right?
It was
so sad. A 70-year-old woman.
But she's a fascist.
No. They don't even know what her politics are.
You must be mistaken, Cassandra. Yeah. Antifa only attacks fascists. Yeah. I read it in the Washington Post.
They've warned they're going to the suburbs, and they're doing it.
And then, and that's when conservatives said, mail-in voting is going to backfire on you. Don't do it. The Democrats were like, Donald Trump said without evidence that mail-in voting will be bad. Guess what happens now? Democratic groups are warning all of their voters not to vote by mail. I kid you not. Axios published a story. If they only actually engaged in good faith, they wouldn't constantly be wrong all the time. So they said, it was conservatives. Antifa is coming to the suburbs. They're talking about it. The New York Times, all these outlets, they're like, Antifa is not coming to the suburbs. And now they're smashing up 70-year-old women's windows, threatening them and their families. And I know people in Chicago who are like, they came to the suburbs. It happened. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. And we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.